Shalom, my name is Andrey Teplinsky, and today we want to study God's end-time purpose for the Middle East. And we want to study prophecy that is found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, verses 16 to 25. This prophecy, the body of Messiah worldwide need to know. We want to understand this. And this prophecy describes God's purpose for Egypt, including her relationship with Israel and ancient nation of Assyria. Assyria consisted of parts of modern-day Iran, Iraq, and Syria. In the Bible, God places Israel at the center of his dealings with the surrounding Gentile nations. As believers, we need to study this prophecy, proclaim it, and take a stand with our brothers and sisters in the Lord in Egypt, Israel, and Syria. Today, we are studying this prophecy. We need to understand that the destiny of Egypt is connected with Israel. Before we start to study this prophecy, I want to explain to you the way how I see the prophecies in the Bible. Prophecies concerning Israel and the nations can be classified as already fulfilled, presently being fulfilled, and yet to be fulfilled. In my studies of biblical prophecies, I prefer the literal method or grammatical historical to interpret the text. This method understands the prophecy in its most plain sense and looks for the meaning the author intended his comparators to receive and understand. God delivered prophecy found in Isaiah 19 to the Israelis during the life and prophetic ministry of prophet Isaiah. Historically, Isaiah 19 warned the kingdom of Judah in the 8th century before Christ not to make a military alliance with Egypt for protection against the Assyrians during their time of expansion. Israel and Judah were sandwiches between these two superpowers, Egypt and Assyria, and Israel sought political alliance instead of trusting in God. Through the prophet Isaiah, God predicted the political and economic downfall of Egypt. The logic is simple. If the Egyptians are about to enter a time of crisis, how can they help anyone else? The question is, was this prophecy fulfilled in history? Did the nation of Egypt experience what is written in Isaiah 19? Did the Lord give them over to a cruel master and fierce king to reign over them? History records a partial fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy of judgment. However, there are aspects of Isaiah's prophecy that still remain unfulfilled. Those unfulfilled events described in the prophecy will take place fully during and after the second coming of Yeshua, Jesus. Let's talk a little bit about the context of Isaiah 19. In the chapter 19 of the book of Isaiah, we see a prediction of Egypt's future smiting in verses 1 to 15. Isaiah predicted a period of social chaos in Egypt in which the Egyptians will look to idols in the spirit world for help and guidance. God will deliver Egypt over to the rule of a strong and cruel leader. The economy of a country will be devastated by drying up the Nile River, since Egypt's economy and agriculture heavily dependent on the Nile and its canals. The officials of Egypt will not have power to unify and stabilize the country and will eventually lead her astray. These troubles eventually lead Egypt to recognize the God of Israel as the one who has the power to deliver, transform, and bring them into his destiny for her. Now, the following portion of the prophecy verses 16 to 25, predicts the Lord's solution to the problems of Egypt. God will release his judgment against those who refuse him and bring deliverance to those who call on his name. Isaiah made 5 prophetic declarations, which beginning with the word "in that day." Each declaration highlights a time when God will reverse Egypt's fortunes. The whole point of the prophet is this, that the God of Israel controls the destiny of nations. Now today, we must proclaim these 5 prophecies in our intercession for the Middle East. God wants to release his spirit without measure in this region. He's raising up a bride for his son in the Middle East. He is nourishing and cherishing her and preparing for the end time revival. Let's look at prophecy number 1. In that day, Egypt will be like a woman and will be afraid and fear because of the waving of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he waves over it. And the land of Judah will be a terror to Egypt. Everyone who makes mention of it will be afraid in himself because of the counsel of the Lord of hosts, which he has determined against this. In these verses, God will visit Egypt with his judgment, as he did during the exodus of Israelis from Egypt so many centuries ago. It will happen again by the manifestation of God's power. This has not yet happened. The fulfillment will be eschatological or remain to the future of a time of Yeshua's coming back. As a result of this manifestation, the idolatrous faith of the Egyptians will be shaking, because the Lord will be on Israel's side. The very name of Israel will become a terror to Egyptians. Eventually, the Egyptians will realize that the God of Israel is the source of their troubles, but ultimately the source of their salvation. Now, the phrase, "the waving of the hand," speaks of God's power to judge evil and establish righteousness. The Lord will move in unprecedented ways to break the resistance against him and perpetuate his purposes for Egypt. Well, today, our petition in intercession should be, God of Israel, would you visit Egypt with your power and awaken this country to your salvation? Please stop ungodly leaders that oppose your purposes and raise up an apostolic leadership in the churches of Egypt that will prepare people for the return of your son Yeshua. Let's look at the prophecy number 2. In that day, 5 cities in the land of Egypt will speak the language of Canaan and swear by the Lord of hosts. One will be called the city of destruction. This is an amazing prophecy. It speaks of the conversion of entire cities to the worship of the true God. God's glory will rest on 5 cities in Egypt before Yeshua's return. The presence of the Lord will be so tangible that the entire city will make a special vow to follow him. One of these 5 cities will be called the city of destruction, perhaps because of the destruction that the God will bring to Egypt. The Lord will destroy any type of idolatry in the cities of Egypt. Today, we should cry out to the Lord, Lord, release a spirit of revival. Come in power to awaken these 5 regions with an unusual outpouring of the Spirit. Break idolatry and bring every Christian into alignment with your spirit in Egypt. Let's look at prophecy number 3. The following verses explains to us in details the circumstances and outcome of the conversion of the Egyptians. It describes a time in the future when the national oppression in Egypt is so great that it creates the context for a national revival. This will eventually lead to a nationwide turning to the Lord, opening the door for God to heal the nation of Egypt. In that day, there will be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar to the Lord in its border. And it will be for a sign and for a witness to the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. For they will cry to the Lord because of the oppressors, and he will send them a Savior and a mighty one, and he will deliver them. Then the Lord will be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians will know the Lord in that day, and will make a sacrifice and offerings. Yes, they will make a vow to the Lord and perform it. And the Lord will strike Egypt. He will strike and heal it. They will return to the Lord, and he will be entreated by them to heal them. The pillar or monument at the border probably symbolized the claiming of the land for the God of Abraham. As you remember, Abraham built an altar to express his gratitude and commitment to the Lord. As a result of the oppression, a prayer will be raised up in Egypt. An example of this is in the opening chapters of Exodus, the book of Exodus. Israel cried out for deliverance, and God sent them a Savior, Moses. Similarly, during the end times, Egyptians will cry out against their oppressors, and God will reveal to them a Savior, Yeshua. The land of Egypt will know Yeshua with such a deep faith. They will follow through on their vows to them. God will strike the wicked leaders of Egypt and remove them so that he can heal the land. God's redemptive power will come to Egypt when its divine healing and begin the process of restoration to its original destiny and calling as a nation. What an astonishing prophecy. Let us stand before the Lord in prayer for Egypt like never before. Let's ask, Lord, release your spirit and grace on every prayer meeting in Egypt to create a national prayer movement that breaks spiritual darkness in Egypt. Lord, give grace to Christians to persevere in prayer and to proclaim the gospel of your kingdom. Let's look at prophecy number 4. The prophecy announced the new astonishing heights. In the days of Isaiah, Assyrians were known for their brutality and inhuman acts during their military conquest. But in the future, the Middle East will become a place of peace and cooperation between two major powers, Egypt and Assyria. Let's look at these verses. In that day, there will be an highway from Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians will come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians will serve with the Assyrians. Reconciliation between the major powers in the Middle East will characterize that day. A literal highway will be built starting in Egypt and ending in Assyria, which is modern-day Iraq, areas of Syria, Jordan, and Turkey. Friends, the sons of Ishmael will be reconciled as Egypt is unified with Assyria. People of these Arab lands will come into unity. A highway will facilitate an international communication with commerce and peace. This highway, mentioned in verse 25, is obviously an ancient road that leads out of Egypt through the eastern parts of Israel and Syria to Mesopotamia. However, in the coming prophetic fulfillment, people will not only cooperate in commerce, but also in worship of the true God, the God of little Israel, the people they afflicted repeatedly in the past. Today, we should pray, Lord, fully reconcile Egypt and Iraq in your Son Yeshua, so they will fully cooperate with your purposes. Today, release your grace to proclaim a word of reconciliation in through Messiah Yeshua. Let the tribe be reconciled with tribe, and Arab brother with Arab brother. Let's look at prophecy number 5. In that day, Israel will be one of a tree with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed is Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance. This must have been an astonishing prophecy for the listeners in Isaiah's day. In the past, Israel was found herself caught between Egypt and Assyria, but in the future, both of these enemies will join in worshiping the God of Israel. These three nations will relate to each other based on their new identity that God gives them. God applies some of his favorite terms for Israel to Egypt and Assyria. He said, my people and the work of my hands. However, he reserved my inheritance only for Israel. In the coming kingdom of God, Israel will be a blessing in the midst of the region. This will take place when Yeshua returns. He will set up his throne at Jerusalem and will reign on planet Earth for 1,000 years with his headquarters in Israel. He will be a source of every blessing. Before these days arrive, let us intercede for his kingdom purposes to come to pass. Lord, unify and bind together Arabs and Jewish believers in Yeshua as a first fruit and foretaste of the age to come. Give the believers in those nations grace to build a highway of prayer through worship and friendship even today. Help them to see your gift and callings on their countries. It's an amazing prophecy. But the question is, would you be a part of God's move in the Middle East? Can you imagine that the modern Egypt, Israel, Syria, and Iraq will be united and will bless the Middle East with the prosperity and peace? Can we imagine these nations having open borders, developing commercially and economically together, following the same God? Today, it may be difficult to think in such terms, but this is how it will look in the future. This is what the Lord will accomplish. The Word of God spoken 1,000 years ago through his holy prophet Isaiah is still shaping the future of the Middle East. I have a privilege to serve the Lord in Israel in a congregation where the part of our vision is the one new man of Ephesians chapter 2. When Jews and Arabs believe in Yeshua, they can and do have peace and share unity in Messiah with each other. I have many Arab friends who are wonderful believers and pastors. God is moving in the hearts of Arabs in the land of Israel today. More and more Arabs are coming into the kingdom of God's beloved Son, Yeshua. In the midst of the tensions, wars, and political and religious turmoil in the Middle East, God's Spirit is moving in unprecedented ways. There is many testimonies of people who are coming to faith because of turmoil. The number of believers continues to grow, and this is a confirmation of God's prophetic word concerning the Middle East. The majority of the Middle East population is Muslim. However, this fact is not stopping the Lord from advancing his purposes in that region. In fact, more Muslims have come to faith in Christ in the last 2 centuries since the birth of Islam. In his recent book, Dr. David Garrison, analyzing the advancement of the gospel in the Muslim world, and he states, "We're witnessing an historic, unprecedented moment in salvation history. Even from a secular vantage point, we have never seen so many Muslims, individuals, or communities in so many different places move toward faith in Jesus Christ. These facts cannot be denied." Would you like to be a part of God's dream presented in Isaiah 19? Please pray that the truth of Father's love will break the misconceptions taught to Arabs and Jews. Pray that the persecuted believers would feel by the Holy Spirit and be empowered. Let's stand with our brothers and sisters in the Middle East. Let's uphold them as they're going through their trials. Pray that nominal believers would be ignited with a new passion for Yeshua and with a hunger to really know God. If we want a fresh move of God in our lives, we have to connect with God's heart for the Middle East as well. Thank you for watching, and blessings.